Valve is making stuff again. Lutris is releasing a new version. Wine is updating. All this and more on Mostly Linux on Mostly Gaming, episode 0.07. Let's roll. And we're back. Thank you very much for joining us here again for episode 0.07. Making a lot of progress, I hope. You know, one of the biggest challenges that we've had here for the podcast is the sound quality. We really suck at sound quality, and it's not for lack of trying, let me tell you. It's just lack of competence, really. We have new mics, we have new technology, we've got our computers, we've got monitors all around us, and we record this show using OBS Studio, edit it on Caden Live, and every single time we listen to the show and it sounds like we're in a bathtub. And then we listen to other shows and they sound perfect. Even people that don't have any equipment seem to sound much better than we do. So we've made a couple of adjustments here. Hopefully the sound quality will be better. The key that we've discovered, we believe the key is, I don't know. I'm recording this live. I record it straight to tape in terms of quotes, straight to tape, and then we edit it. And often, you know, I go through the show for about an hour. I do some tests up front, sound checks, and it sounds good. And you know, ultimately, it doesn't come across as good as it sounds when I do the sound check. I don't know. What I've done here is I've added some noise gates, which should eliminate some of the background noise that we've had in some of the earlier episodes. Right now, for example, I've got a little kitty who's walking around the table. Hopefully, the kitty is not coming through because she's under that noise gate. We've also put in a couple of other filters in there, adjusted the microphone placement. Hopefully this is going to sound better. That's probably the number one complaint that we've had from our users. Many of you, and thank you for reaching out, have told me that you're enjoying the show, but you know, you got to improve your quality there. We're recording from our home in our den. I'm not a production expert, but if you are, and you want to help with producing the show, send an email out to mostly_linux@protonmail.com, and let's bring you aboard. We're more than happy to accept assistance and help and input from the community. You know, we want this to be better than it is, and maybe someday we'll be out of beta and into into a full-fledged podcast release. Anyway, that's a preamble. It's going well. This is episode 0.07, beta.07. So we're getting better at this, I think. Hopefully, we will continue to improve over time. Feeling a little thin in the head, let's say, this morning. It was my wife's birthday yesterday, and to celebrate, for those of you that are married out there, or for those of you that have girlfriends, here's a problem for us guys. We never know what they want, right? So at least I don't, right? So what over the many years that we've been married, I've bought my wife all sorts of stuff, and I just basically kind of determined that whatever I get her, she's going to return. So, you know, put some thought into it, you know, do something nice, make it so that it's the thought that counts, and then don't be offended when you ask what happened to, you know, whatever the present was, and you find out that it was returned. Because we don't know. I mean, what do we know? And women are complicated things with all sorts of internal mechanisms, both mental and physical, that we will just never, ever understand. I, over the last number of years, have decided that I'm not going to buy uh, tangible, physical objects as presents anymore. I'm going to focus more on experiences. And the best presents are ones that you get to experience alongside them, because you're giving them the present, but you're participating, if you get what I'm saying. And so this year we rented a wonderful hotel room right in the middle of YYZ here, and booked a just an outstanding Thai massage. If you guys don't know what that is, look it up on your Yelp or whatever you have in your territory. We went to Bai Thai massage in downtown YYZ, and man, it was outstanding. It was 2.5 hours long. Started off with an infrared sauna. Get those muscles really loosened, followed by a nice hot shower, and then we basically rented out the entire spa. So it was just the two of us, and the staff, of course, and we had a couple of masseuses who I mean really put their body into a Thai massage. They're rubbing, they're walking on you. They've got these ropes up high so that they can adjust how much weight they're going to put on you. I asked for a deep massage myself, and it was deep. It was at times painful, but it really kind of gets the kinks out. Wait a second, this is my wife's birthday present, so she had a massage as well, and she had a medium one. Interestingly, we were both lying side by side. You lie on the floor there with the blankets and pillows around, and the massage that she got was different than the massage that I got, and I guess they customize it based on I guess their determination of what you need. But yeah, it was a good time. We then hung out by the bar, went out to an amazing steakhouse, Jacob's Steakhouse, and man, these guys have every possible kind of combination of steak from every place in the world. I saw a steak there that was $450. I didn't order it, but it was there if you wanted it. You could have it, fresh, right off the cow. You could have it aged for 90 days. You can have it aged for 120 days. It was really, the art of steak. And so we had a fantastic dinner. Added a bit of lobster for some surf and turf, and drank a couple of bottles of wine, and then felt well lubricated mentally as we headed back to the hotel room. So happy birthday to my wife. Glad that you've stuck with me over these many years, sweetie. And let's do it again. Not next year. Let's do this more often. Okay, maybe like 3 or 4 or 5 times a year. We don't have to wait for birthdays to go for the Thai massage and the hotel room. Let's get out of the house and go out and have some fun. Anyway, that's the preamble for today. We'll be back in a moment here with the news. And we're back here on Mostly Linux, on Mostly Gaming, with a bunch of news stories here today. I don't know, Valve all of a sudden decided that they want to get into the business of doing stuff. And I'm all for that. If you remember a while back, they talked about how they're going to start making games again. Then they bought a game studio and brought them in-house. Now they're announcing that they're expanding the Steam link. And Steam will stream to phones and tablets. Let's find that one. It's right over here. So they just basically put out a small release. It was the 9th of May. Got lots of attention, but this is the entire story as it comes out from Valve. It says new Steam apps to extend service offerings. 2 free new apps, the Steam Link app and the Steam Video app, are preparing for launch in the coming weeks, both designed to extend Steam's suite of services and accessibility. The Steam Link app, slated to launch the week of May 21st, allows gamers to experience their Steam library of games on their Android phone, tablet, TV, and iOS-based iPhone, iPad, Apple TV devices while connected via 5 GHz network or wired Ethernet to a host of systems, Mac or PC, with Android access initially offered in beta. The Steam Link app will feature support for the Steam controller, MFI controllers, and more across both platforms. Late this summer, the Steam Video app is targeted for release, allowing users to enjoy the thousands of movies and shows available on Steam directly via their Android and iOS devices over Wi-Fi or LTE. In direct response to customer feedback, it will offer the ability to enjoy content in offline and streaming modes. So this is very interesting because the Steam Link, if you guys, I'm sure many of you have it, is a terrific little device you hook onto your computer, to your TV, and you can stream from your PC to your connected TV, wherever that may be, through the Steam Link, through the Steam controller, or through your Xbox or PS4 or whatever other controller you've got connected to the system. And so now what they're doing basically here is that they are allowing any device, any phone device, or connected television device to effectively become a Steam Link, which is pretty cool. So if you've got an Android TV, an NVIDIA Shield TV, an Apple TV, or what have you, that can become effectively a Steam Link, and you can stream your games there. So that essentially eliminates the need for the Steam Link. I doubt they're going to sell anymore. There's no reason for them if you can connect them via your device that's already connected here. Interestingly, I don't see the Fire TV listed here. I'm not sure if Fire TVs are supported. That would be unfortunate. I think I'm not sure what the Fire TV is running, what kind of an operating system it's running. My guess would be, I actually don't know. I'm going to find out what. In fact, let's just take a quick look right here. Maybe we can find out. What OS is Fire TV running? According to various online sources, Fire TV uses Fire OS, that I know, which is based on Android, which in turn is based on Linux. Sources confirm that the Google Chromecast uses Android and the Mozilla Matchstick uses the Linux-based Firefox. Okay, so Fire TV uses Android, so hopefully they'll be able to bring that back and get it right, because I've got Fire TVs on pretty well every TV here, and it's, I think, the best deal out there. Now, in conjunction with this this functionality, a couple of days later, Valve announced that Bluetooth connectivity is enabled for the Steam controller, and this was another really short release. It says, today's Steam Client Beta includes the option to add Bluetooth low energy functionality to your Steam controller. This feature will be required to enjoy the upcoming Steam Link app, but you may find it handy for other reasons too. I'd like to describe what the BLE connection can and cannot do compared to the existing wireless solutions. Steps to update your controller to add BLE support, and how to switch between wireless modes, and blah blah blah. I did update the Steam Beta client, and I did get a pop-up that mentioned that the functionality was there. I downloaded the functionality, and my Steam controller was now Bluetooth enabled. It's magic. I mean, magic. It was there all along, or I suppose it was already kind of included in there, connected to the receiver that shipped with the Steam controller, and now they've just basically opened up the signal so that it can connect to broad Bluetooth BLE rather than just to the signal that was coming up from the receiver. And so now, if you've got it set up, if you've got your Steam controller and you press A plus the Steam key on it, you will connect in the original mode. And if you press B plus the Steam symbol, then you will connect in Bluetooth mode. If you do have a receiver and it works, they recommend, and I can see why, that you just stick to the existing wireless receiver, because the signal is probably going to be stronger, and it's not going to interfere with other things. It's a dedicated signal that goes straight to the controller. If you want to pair your Steam controller, though, with your Apple TV or your Android TV or your Shield or even your phone or your tablet, then you're probably going to need, well, you will need to connect via Bluetooth. So that's kind of the whole purpose there. It is cool stuff. I like the expansion here of the services. I'd love to see it on my Fire TV, though. As I've got one on every TV in the house. So that would be kind of cool. For me, I've got a PC pretty well connected to every TV in the house too, so I don't know what I would use it for. But why do you need a reason when you've got gadgets lying around that you can mess around with, right? Anyway, that's cool things. The other couple of other interesting releases, announcements this week. One is Lutris Gaming 0.4.15 was released. I'm a big fan of Lutris. I've got Lutris installed on everything as well. One of the reasons that we are running with the mostly Linux brand rather than exclusively Linux or only Linux or super Linux or whatever is we kind of fundamentally believe that Wine and the accessibility of non-Linux gaming on Linux is important to expanding the user base. You can see Kingdom Come Deliverance here in terms of all of the games that we've got. I've got Libretro connected here. I don't think I've got anything installed. A bunch of games here. I've got DXVK. Lutris is an important project, and we support them through their Patreon, and I would encourage you guys to support them as well. But Lutris is an important project because it opens up gameplay to a broader base. The biggest issue that I find for new Linux gamers is that they come on over, they love Linux, they love the system, they love the freedom, and then there is that game or two or three or five or 10 that they just can't play. And they're not willing to make the move. The cost of moving to Linux is too high for them. And, we can get into an argument or a debate as to whether that's right or whether that's wrong or whether they're noobs or attack them or call them names and put up, gates around our operating system. But I've talked about that before, and that is idiotic. We want to welcome them to Linux. And the best way to welcome them to Linux is to basically say that the trade-off, the benefits that you get come at low cost. And key to that are projects like Lutris. Because with Lutris, the idea behind it is not there, which is why it's not a beta, but the idea behind it is that you can basically, with one click, and let's take a look at my library here, all runners, with one click, you can play as many of your games as is possible. Okay? And once we get to a point where I can essentially click something here and play it on Linux, with as little pain and hassle as possible, then we're going to get more Linux gamers. Okay, and no, you are not going to lose out on Linux ports, because if the gaming community is bigger, if there are more people using Linux, you will get more games that come over. Okay, it's as simple as that. People that think that buying games and playing them on Wine are reducing the user base are thinking minimally. Okay, we want to expand the base. We don't want to keep it the same size, with each of us just basically paying outrageous prices for every game that comes out, so that we can encourage them to bring out more and more games. So this is Subnautica. You know what? I'm going to install it here while I'm doing the stream and see if it plays at the end of the podcast. I'll see if it just runs, which hopefully it does. Otherwise, this example won't look very well. But maybe it'll give us a sense of how well Lutris is doing. Let me just get my Steam Guard code here. All right, so that should be installing the game. Let's let it do its work. Okay, so this right here is the Windows version of Steam. So let's let that do its work. Let's go back and take a look and see what's new in 4.15. This is the first release actually in a while. I follow Lutris. Like I said, I support them on Patreon, and I haven't seen an update in a while. So let's take a look and see what they've added. Add RPCS3 runner. The RPCS3 runner, I believe, is, let's take a look at the runners. What exactly is that one? I'm not even sure if I've updated, to be honest with you. The RPCS3 runner, let's take a look and find out what that is. Sounds like a PS3 emulator. RPCS3. Okay, right. RPCS3. Yes, it looks like a... Each month, we aim to publish a technical and visual properties, blah, 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 blah. Let's take a look at an open source PlayStation 3 emulator. Very cool. Correct. They did have PlayStation 2. I think they had some PlayStation 3 support in there as well. But I do recall running Demon's Souls at one point on this very machine that I'm recording this, and I did not do it through Lutris. So that is a good add-on for them. Definitely going to try out some Demon's Souls again via Lutris this time. Prevent Lutris from killing Steam if it's downloading a game. That I have had that happen to me before, so that's a good thing. Add option to run DRM-free Steam games without opening Steam. That is nice. That is very nice, actually. It kind of diminishes the need for GOG, and I am not a big fan of GOG because they don't support Linux. And I'll take Steam's DRM combined with their incredible support for Linux over, GOG's DRM-free. Crapping on Linux as a system, and really not giving a crap, which it's kind of an interesting phrase, because on the one hand, I'm saying the same thing by saying that they are crapping on us, and then I say the exact same thing by stating that they don't give a crap. So in English, giving a crap and crapping on are essentially the same insult, but opposite in terms of language. Maybe that's why English is so hard to learn for people. Anyway, add custom name directive to install scripts. I think that's a script rating thing. Set default wine architecture to 64-bit. Thank you. Thank you for that. It typically was set to auto or to 32-bit, and then if you forgot to manually change it, it would be a problem. Add support for DXVK in Wine games. That is tremendous. I've been able to basically use Lutris to install some DXVK containers, and it's not perfect, but DXVK is a very important project for improving the compatibility of Windows DX11 games in Wine via Android, and that's opened up the compatibility. The number of games that are now compatible or playable on Linux has increased substantially. Prioritize libraries in user lib over the Lutris runtime. Okay. Disable Lutris runtime on Wine games if Wine is installed globally. Okay, that's a good fix as well. Download recent Wine version if the system installed one is too old. So right now, each script installs the version of Wine that comes with the script. So somebody basically puts together the script for, let's say, installing Skyrim, for the sake of argument, and the Wine version becomes older if the script is not updated. So one of the things that you need to do now when you're using Lutris is to update the runners manually and make sure that you change it in the configuration area. Apparently, this is going to basically do that automatically, which is a good thing. Various UI fixes. Okay, so this is a worthy update and a good one. I love their numbering. This has only gone up to 4.15. It's still version 0, so this is going to be probably in beta longer than we are. I don't think I've updated it yet, so I'm going to have to do. What am I running here? I'm running this on Solus right now, so I'll have to refresh the install and get that going, and I'll come back next week with some results. As you can see, I have a lot of things to test on it. Is there? Let me just take a look. Maybe I am upgraded. No, it's 4.14 that I'm on. Oh, I got a cat here trying to come on up. You come on up. There you go. All right, so that's something for me to do for next episode. But alongside the release of Lutris is a new version of Wine 3.8. The progress for Wine over the last number of years has just been phenomenal, and that's another project that deserves our support. It's improving at a rate that is faster than I can ever recall, and hats off to the team. There was also a version, I don't have it in here. There's a new version of Crosstalk, which is the I guess the corporate version of Wine. Designed primarily to run, I think, Microsoft Office, so they've got a new version of that. I did download and install that and ran Office, and then it doesn't, it runs, but it doesn't. It's not. There's not enough of an advantage to running Office on Linux when we have Libre and WPS, and in particular WPS is just such a phenomenally compatible Office platform that I would probably use it instead of Office on Windows. So anyway, I digress. Let's take a look at Wine 3.8. Let's see what they've got. So the anything here of interest: support for showing file properties in the shell browser, MP3 decoder as a DirectX media object, more support for the task scheduler, blah 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 blah. Let's take a look at some of the bugs that they fixed. Adobe Reader. I don't see anything here that's really popping up. Let's take a look. Steam Big Picture requires D3D11 multiple viewports. Steam Big Picture requires multiple scissors. So little kind of improvements on Big Picture mode. Wait a second. Is Big Picture mode now running on Wine? Okay, that might be new. I haven't tried this out, but that could be interesting. I'd like to see Big Picture mode running on Wine. Right now it doesn't. But that could be interesting, worth testing out. Bunch of other stuff here that is not that interesting to me. Looks like they may have done some updates to League of Legends and other stuff. So yeah, so good progress over there. And look, you know what? This is the year of the Linux desktop, isn't it? It feels that way. It feels that way. I say that tongue in cheek, but it feels good. We'll be back right after this. And we're back here on Mostly Gaming. Yes, on Mostly Gaming with Mostly Linux. I forgot my name there for a second. With some games on the horizon, right here running in the background is perhaps the new, maybe one of the few, maybe the only battle royale game to come to Linux. It is called Crazy Justice, which is being funded on Fig, which is the investment-based Kickstarter, let's say, by Black Riddle's studio. You can see it here in the background running on the Switch. You know, it looks pretty interesting. It is coming out on all platforms, including confirmed Linux, and it will be cross network play for Crazy Justice between Nintendo Switch, PC, and Xbox One. So as I said before, PC includes Linux. The only platform that is not being involved in this is Sony's PlayStation, because they want to be as proprietary as possible. Screw them, whatever. Yeah, so this is it. Looks interesting. Crazy Justice, we've got it on our watch list. It's not available. I do not see it available on Steam. Not sure if it's coming out on Steam or GOG or those traditional distributors. I think it's probably going to come out through their own launcher. But it's just a campaign right now. There is no game as far as I can tell. Just something there for the horizon. But hats off to Black Riddle's studio for supporting Linux. That's awesome, man. That's great. We'll keep an eye out for that one. A couple of other interesting things that have come out this week, mostly in terms of new content. One is Stellaris, Distant Stars. Let's take a quick look at that. There it is. Distant Stars Story Pack. Not much in the way of news here. Do they have I don't even see a trailer. But this looks like Distant Stars is a new Discovery-themed story pack where players will uncover new anomalies and storylines and encounter strange new beings in the uncharted depths of space. Looks interesting. I unfortunately, I'm a lapsed Stellaris player. Gosh, I don't even think I've got hardly any hours in. Let's take a look. I've got 2 hours in Stellaris, so I'm gonna I'm gonna pass. Look at all these. I've got a whole bunch of the DLC too that I bought and didn't play. I am horrible that way in terms of buying games and not playing them. I think I buy. I'm more of a game buyer, a game owner, a game licensee. No, I'm more of a game licensee than a game player, which is sad because I don't even own the games. In any case, that for those of you that are into Stellaris is out now. We've also got Darkest Dungeon with a new content update called The Color of Madness. Let's take a look at that. Color of Madness. Let's go Darkest Dungeon. I love Darkest Dungeon, but you guys know that already, right? Dungeon. Color of Madness. Come on. Load up. It didn't load up. Where is it? Darkest Dungeon. Color of Madness. Let's keep trying this. I'm not going to give up. There it is. Downloadable content. Oh, that's not available until 19th of June. Some hateful shard of alien origin is streaked through the night sky, crashing into the old miller's farm on the outskirts of the hamlet. Those unfortunate enough to witness the comet's arrival have been blinded by what they can only describe as a shifting, ephemeral hue of damnably abrasive intensity. There has been no word from the farm in a fortnight, save for the unearthly groaning that echoes from the run of the mill. Looks very cool. Red Hook Studios should be commended for their support of this game. I'm going to add it to my wish list. I still haven't finished the base games though, and I have committed to not buying the DLC when I haven't finished the base game. But I do intend to finish Darkest Dungeon. It is on my must-play, must-finish list, though I've added other games to that list that are now prohibiting me from going through this. I'm going to get through this week. I'm going to continue to play it. What a great game. I'm committing right now on the air that I'm going to finish Darkest Dungeon by this time next week. Done. Here's another game with a content update. Aragami. They have a new DLC called Nightfall. Let's take a look at that. That's another game that I own and I don't think I've ever played. Maybe I got it in a Humble Bundle or something. I'm not sure where I got it from, but available June 2018. I'm going to pronounce it Aragami. Aragami Nightfall is the first story expansion to the celebrated stealth action game by Linceworks. Aragami Nightfall is a new campaign taking place before the events of Aragami, which will provide you with new challenges and more complex scenarios for experienced players, as well as proving a crucial chapter in the story of Aragami, in which you will play the events that led to the awakening of Aragami. In Aragami Nightfall, shadow assassins Hio and Shinobu go after the mysterious alchemist in one last mission to bring back a long-lost companion. Play as Hio and Shinobu and use new shadow powers in a story campaign that will put your stealth skills to the test. Available June 2018. Looks interesting. I don't know why I've never played this game. It's never really kind of popped up in my brain as a game that I should be playing. Do I have any hours into it? Let me... do I even own it? I'm pretty sure I own it, yeah. I've played it for 58 minutes. Oh, this is offline. So this is another thing going back to Lutris. When Lutris is installing games on the Windows version of Steam on Linux, hey there, Wrigley. The Linux version of Steam goes offline, which I guess that's a good thing. I mean, it keeps the system from being confused as to why you've got two different versions of the same client on the same system. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna give that a shot as well. Why not? I don't, like I said, I don't know why I have games that I don't recall having. Finally, City Skylines, a game which I have played, has another update. Man, you know what? These guys are probably, the best in terms of supporting. Maybe Paradox, of course. I don't want to be dismissive of them, but the support that these guys have given this game has been outstanding, and they've got a new one called Country Road Radio. Let's click it up here and see what this is. City Skylines Country Road Radio is coming May 24th. Country Road Radio playing 16 original new songs in 4 subgenres. Appalachian folk, bluegrass, honky-tonk, Nashville, modern country, and unplugged country. So it looks like it's just a radio add-on for the game. Looks interesting. This is another situation where I am a lapsed gamer, though I have played that at some length in the past. I've got 16 hours into it. Look, this is also worthy of going back, but how can we possibly have enough time to play these games? That is the biggest problem that I have. It's the wealth of riches that almost diminish our enjoyment of gaming. Whatever. Let's continue here. There's a couple of new games that have been released or are pending release this week as well. The first one is called Wolf Tales. And Wolf Tales is... let's run the trailer here. Wolf Tales is a visual novel where you take care of 2 wolf girls. There's Mirari, a kind-hearted girl who is running away from her duties to her pack, and Fuyu, a brash and loud-mouthed girl who is wary of human culture and its influences. Right. Right. Okay, so what is the rating for this game? It is available on Linux. You can buy it now for $11.49, maybe $10 US. What is the rating? I think it's a game that is rated for people that like Wolf Girl type things. Not judging. I feel like it. It's out there. Oh, it's got nudity. So yeah, it looks interesting. At least they're cute. Battle of Westnoth is now out as well. This is a free-to-play game. The Battle for Westnoth is an open-source, turn-based strategy game with a high fantasy theme. Explore the 4 corners of Iridia in 17 solo campaigns and dozens of multiplayer maps, taking part in countless adventures as you go. Is it... what is it? Is it supposed to be like a tactics type game? Step into the shoes of a young mage, his village beset by orcish invasion. Explore hundreds of creative things. Okay, well, it's free to play. If you're into this kind of thing, probably worth a shot. I think I'm gonna pass. Just because, again, I don't have enough time to play it. But you know what? It looks like it's got good production values. Requirements are relatively thin. Recommended is 4 gigs of RAM, integrated graphics, 3.2 gigahertz, dual core. So this will basically pretty well play on anything. hey, if you've got an old computer and you want to try it out, give it a shot. Monster Prom is another game that is out that has been getting some very good reviews, kind of in the broader community. Um, it's the description here is you have 3 weeks. You have 3 weeks to get a date for Monster Prom. Go through absurd and funny situations, raise your stats, and seduce one of your classmates. Beautiful art, bold, unapologetic dialogue, and hard choices. Make up this multiplayer, 1 to 4 players dating sim beer versus. So it's a dating sim. What is the rating of this dating sim? Doesn't say nudity. Indie dating sim simulation multiplayer funny. So reviews are in, and it is very positive. Yeah, kind of looks funny. I mean, it looks like it could be worth a laugh if you're into it. The Metacritic review looks a little low at 72, but the reviews on Steam seem to be more positive than the reviews on Metacritic, and I'm not a big fan of Metacritic, so take that as it were. $13.50 on Steam. Yeah, that's it for now. Let me take another break here, and I'll come back and talk about what we've been playing here on Mostly Linux on Mostly Gaming. And we're back here on Mostly Linux on Mostly Gaming. Got a little kitten right here in front of my screen who is trying to attack my mouse, which is beautifully ironic. Beautifully ironic. Now I can't see the screen. Sorry, Wrigley. This little cat has had more names than any cat in the history of humanity. At first, we named her Rigby, Eleanor Rigby, from the Beatles song. That name didn't stick. There was resistance to the name from some parties in this household who shall not be named. Then the name became Chloe. Chloe was tried for a little while. There was resistance to that name due to some bad experiences with people named Chloe in the real world that prevented some people from really getting a sense of love or feeling of positive feelings towards the kitten when it was named after a person that to them was horrible in real life. Chloe then became Cleo. Cleo is a horrible name. So after some time being named Cleo, that name was changed to a different name, which became Wrigley. Wrigley as in the brand of gum out there, or as in Wrigley Field in Chicago. There is now a move to change the name back to Chloe from Wrigley. Even I can't keep them straight. But I am going to call this little kitten Wrigley from now on, because she deserves to have one name, not 4 or 5. So Wrigley, that is what you shall be forevermore. All right, let's go back now and talk about what we've been playing. And I guess the first game on the list here is Dark Souls Remastered. Dark Souls is one of the greatest games in the history of gaming. The original Dark Souls popularized the entire genre of gaming that is now known as Souls-likes. And really uttered in a new era of gaming that was based on the premise that people could rise up to the challenge of a difficult game. I have put many hours into Dark Souls, not only on the PC, but also on PlayStation 3, on the Xbox 360 as well. Uh, Basically, I've got this game in every platform that it's ever come out because it is truly a great game. Wonderfully, it plays superbly under Wine as well. So I've played it in Linux too. Let's take a look and see how many hours I've got just in the PC version. Dark Souls. Whoa. Dark Souls. Dark Souls Prepare to Die, 303 hours. So when I complain about not having enough time to play games, you can see that I do have time to play the games that I really get into. That's just, of course, on the PC. There's many more hours on the other platforms. Dark Souls 2 proper is almost 800 hours. Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin, which is also Dark Souls 2, but a remastered version of that, I've got another 500 hours. And Dark Souls 3, I've got almost 500 hours. So yeah, I like these games. What's it to you? In any case, there is a network test that came out for consoles this week, PS4 and Xbox. I downloaded this and played it through there's one boss fight. And I played it through on the Xbox One X at 4K. I was a little disappointed. I think Dark Souls 2 Scholar of the First Sin really set the bar very high for remasters. It was in so many ways the complete game. It was rethought, it was restructured, the enemy placement was adjusted, the graphics were enhanced, and there was new content added that made the story come together better. And it really, truly was the definitive edition of that game. From what I've seen here, from what I've read, Dark Souls Remastered will just be that. It will be, in fact, I'm not even going to call it a remaster. It's a re-release. It is touched up, but it is exactly the same game. And if you only have a console, it is worth picking it up because it's not available on the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4. And so, especially if you're unfortunate enough to only play on PlayStation consoles, I'm not sure you can play it on the PlayStation 4. It is a PS3 game. I don't know. They've got this streaming service, which I'm not sure that it's available on. But even if it were, you would have to basically subscribe to this ridiculously priced streaming service so that you could play this one game. So if you're on a PS4, buy it. You have no choice. If you haven't played it before, it is outstanding. If you have an Xbox One X or an Xbox One, and that's what you game on, then I would say it looks better. And so yeah, I would basically look at it there. If you have a PC, it really doesn't look that improved. As I said, I was playing on the Xbox One X at 4K. I was not, it looked no better than it looks playing it the existing version on my PC at 4K or whatever other resolution. In fact, it may look better on a PC if you've added some mods. There are things that mods can't do, like the flickering of the flame and things like that. But that is offset with a whole bunch of things that the mod does do that this doesn't. So what they've done is they've decided to charge half price for PC gamers. So it'll be $20 if you have the existing version. I haven't checked. It's not available. They're not doing the network test on the PC, so I haven't. It's not clear whether this will run via Wine on Linux. I assume that it will, but the existing version runs perfectly in any case. So I'll buy this. I'll buy this because for the online community, it's a game that is wonderful to play with other people. And it's a little kind of slow out there on the old versions, and with a whole bunch of noobs coming into the ecosystem for us to basically invade and kill, it's worth the time. But really, the game that we are focusing on right now is Pillars of Eternity 2. That was our giveaway last week. Congratulations to the winners, actually. It was a very successful giveaway. We gave away a copy of the game on our subreddit, which, let me just talk a little bit about that right now, is r/mostly_Linux. If you haven't tried out our subreddit, it's not big, but we're trying to build a little community here on Reddit. The objective here in terms of the mostly_Linux subreddit is to grow the Linux community through encouragement and outreach. And that really says it all. We want to be an open, accessible, loving, friendly place for our friends and followers to basically come on there. We're not going to judge you for occasionally playing on a console or playing on your PC or playing on Windows or Mac. Okay, we are mostly Linux, and that is our community. We are not exclusively anything. We are gamers first, lovers of freedom, and we like Linux, and that's kind of the big difference between, I think, us and the other communities out there. I mean, to be honest, I don't expect this to become 100,000 members or anything. I'd be happy if it got to 100. We've got 18 right now, but the objective here is that we're going to build the community. This is where our game giveaways will be going down into the future. We gave away the codes here for the Pillars of Eternity 2 giveaway. We'll also be giving away games on our on the Twitter feed. Twitter and Reddit are our principal online is our principal online presence. So come on over. It's r/mostly_Linux. Join us. Say hi. Let's play some games together. Create a community. Be respectful. Be nice. And that is my cat actually sitting on on stuff here. You know what? Here's actually another one that I didn't mention it earlier on. So along with Wine 3.8 releasing, and Lutris 4.15 releasing, game mode 1.1 was released, which further optimizes Linux gaming performance through really management of the CPU. I have so if you're running if you're running Solus, which is what we run, that should be available and updated. If you're running another distribution or flavor of Linux, you may need to go back and download it or refresh the upload. Thank you, Wrigley, for sitting on my keyboard and reminding me of that story. Anyway, let's go back to, I have to move you. Wrigley, get away from my screen. Let's go back to Pillars of Eternity 2. When was I born? It was 1902. This is such a stupid thing. They ask you this question, I don't know how many times, and they don't really give a crap what you answer. And so what is the point? Actually, I'm being rhetorical. I know what the point is. The point is, regulatory liability, whatever, government rules. So I've been playing Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire. I haven't had a chance to play it as much as I would have hoped. Got 85 minutes into it. The game starts off as a direct sequel to the previous game, and it really just tosses you into the action. The first game had a bit of a slow build. This one is just right into it. You play as the same character as you can import your character from the first game, and continue to play through in the second game. I won't give out any spoilers. It's enjoyable. I'm playing it on Solus on a 4K monitor. It looks gorgeous. Definitely an improvement in both the artistic merit and the style of the game. That is the cat that just basically sat on my keyboard and launched the game. I do not want you to launch my game. And Wrigley, there is no reason for you to sit on my keyboard. You have everywhere else here to sit, including my lap. Why don't you sit on my lap? All right. You know what? I am enjoying the game. You can see I've got all of the stuff. If you were the winner of one of our giveaways, let me know what you think. Be interested in your thoughts. I'm very happy actually. My son is back from university for the summer, and saw me playing Pillars 2. And decided to pick up the first game and play through it. So he's working through that right now. Good for him. He's kind of an Overwatch player and likes strategy games like Hearts of Iron. I'm not a big RPG fan, but glad to see him, getting into it. I'll have more to talk next week. Maybe I'll kind of go through my play through of the game. I'm going to try to get through this a little bit more this weekend, maybe put in another 5 hours or so and see how the game opens up. But so far, so good. Let's take a break there. We're going to come back with our what we've been tweeting, including our main story of the morning, which is Xbox regrets. We'll be right back in 1 minute. We're back. We're going to combine them. Every week we have our what we've been tweeting, which basically goes through our Twitter feed and kind of summarizes our online presence for the week. This week we're going to combine that and focus on the main topic, let's say, and what we've been tweeting, which is what I refer to as Xbox regrets. And it really started with a post. I was looking at my Xbox One. I saw some releases coming out of Microsoft. For those of you that aren't aware, Microsoft has been very good at improving the Xbox One. They released it was probably the biggest failure in new product releases since New Coke, where they released the Xbox One 5 or 6 years ago, completely oblivious to what the market wanted. And they took the number one console in terms of online multiplayer and the best-selling console of the last generation, the Xbox 360, and hobbled it. They released an underpowered system that kind of burdened it up with features that nobody cared about, and then basically stopped supporting their games. They lost almost all of their key game franchises. Bungie was lost and went over to Activision Blizzard. They lost Gears of War in terms of the developer. Epic has moved on and basically sold the franchise to Microsoft, but is no longer developing it. And then they had some franchises that underperformed, and other ones that basically were just killed in terms of some of their studios. So they lost the lead that they had, and they lost a lot of goodwill, and they lost a lot of gamers. And so the news that came out this week was, I guess, somebody doing some data analysis, going back to Electronic Arts, which had a conference call that gave us an indication of the relative market share of the consoles out there. Microsoft does not release its numbers, and everybody speculates that the reason they don't release their numbers are because the numbers suck. So at the Electronic Arts conference call for investors and so forth, there was some news kind of released, and some smart person went out there and basically ran the numbers and the implications of the comments, and basically came out with statistics that basically said that the PlayStation 4 has sold roughly 77 million units, which I do believe actually Sony releases. And Microsoft has sold maybe 30 million, highlighting the disparity in sales and the monumental failure of the Xbox in this generation. And I'm an Xbox fan, so I've been an Xbox fan since the very beginning. And I was looking at those numbers, and I basically posted almost like an obituary is a little too much, but it felt that way. So I posted here on Mostly Linux the following tweet. I bought the original Xbox on launch day. I lined up for the launch of Halo 2 and was an Xbox Live beta tester. I bought a launch Xbox One, an Xbox One Elite, an Xbox One S, an Xbox One X. I've been an Xbox Live subscriber since the program launched. And I copied Xbox P3, Xbox Quick, and Aaron Greenberg. And then I went on and I said, my Xbox Live subscription is coming up and I haven't used my Xbox in a year, except for the odd turn on update. My Xbox friends list has migrated to PS4 or PC, and I've moved on as well. You've lost the gamers, and I'm not sure you're going to win them back. I'll watch with interest at E3, but it's a sad realization that I've come to. The Xbox is in critical condition for me. And so what really kind of drove this was Aaron Greenberg, who is the GM Games Marketing at Microsoft, a board member at Gamers Outreach, lover of games, music, people, travel, culture, and happiness. I'm a lover of happiness too, actually. He tweeted back and he said thanks, which is cool. I like to see that. But what happens is, of course, that distributes the tweet to all of his followers, and then you just basically get the fanboys kind of attacking you, right? And so that led to kind of a stream of consciousness from people, that were basically saying, "Oh, you're a troll, you're whatever, you're this, you're that." And so, I didn't want to go back and forth with people that are, kind of brainless followers of any corporate entity. But I just wanted to make the point to the leadership at Microsoft, 2 points, that, while we appreciate things like backwards compatibility, play anywhere, new services like the subscription-based Xbox service, which is an interesting experiment. I love the fact that I can play my original Xbox games, or at least a few of them, on my Xbox. I did actually play a little bit of my Xbox One this week because they made Burnout Revenge probably one of the greatest games of all time backwards compatible. P.S. I couldn't actually run the game because there was I can't run it because it can't create a file. But anyway, I'm sure they're going to fix that, and I'll be able to play Burnout Revenge, one of my favorite games of all time, on my Xbox One X at 4K. That would be outstanding. But there's so few of us that are left. When I go on to my Xbox One and take a look at my friends list, they've all left. They've all left. My friends no longer play the Xbox One X. My kids don't play the Xbox One X. My kids don't play consoles at all, actually. Meanwhile, Sony is basically launching out hit after hit after hit after hit. And I don't know exactly what the plan is for Microsoft to basically stop it. So let me just kind of, for the record, kind of talk about, respond back to the flamers that attacked me. And this also goes to the Linux flamers as well. It's the same kind of story. When I talk about, people attacking other Linux gamers for using Wine, for example, or for dual booting, my point to them is that you need to increase the base of users. And so don't attack people, welcome them. Okay, so my post is not, trashing the Xbox One X. People that post things like that, and the reason I copied the senior leadership at Microsoft is because people like me are who they need to win back. I'm still holding on. I've got every console. Okay, I'm playing it. Trying to, if there's anything to play. But how do they get people like me back is the question. And they should be responsive, which is why I think Aaron Greenberg, kind of came back and commented with a thanks. Not because he didn't read. Some people basically thought, oh my God, he didn't read his 2 other tweets that came after that. He's fooling us. Because, my first post talked about all of the things that I own, and then my next 2 talked about my disappointment. I think he did read through that. He's not an idiot. And the thanks was for the feedback. That is valuable feedback for product marketers. So what can they do to fix this? And I think they can. Look, new generation of consoles is like a reboot. And right now, the console manufacturers are getting to the point where they are going to reboot their systems. And so Microsoft has an opportunity. And Microsoft has become a much better company now than it has been maybe ever. They are more open. They are less dogmatic. And they are better at listening. They are even supporting Linux, which, who would have thunk it? Okay, so what do you do if you are in second place, probably third place, because the Switch is outselling it as well, and you're getting a console to launch? And here's my advice to the Xbox leadership. First of all, play anywhere is very important. That is, I think, misunderstood by some of the members of the community. And for those of you that aren't aware or that don't own an Xbox, Play Anywhere is basically it's not a belief. It's basically it's an objective, and it's a brand, which means that any game that is published by Microsoft and a few others, which I'm not sure, Shadow of Mordor or Shadow of War was a Play Anywhere game. And what that basically means is that if you buy it once on the Microsoft Store, you can play it on the Microsoft Store regardless of your platform, being Windows or Xbox. And Steam, of course, has the same thing, which is why we can buy a game once on Linux and then play it on Mac or Windows as well. So Valve has shown that is doable, and Microsoft is working to do the same thing on their console. And that, even as a Linux first gamer, if I can buy my game on my Xbox console, the Xbox Next console, and also play it on PC, I am going to be encouraged to buy my games on the Microsoft Store. That is my cat again. Stop that. I'm going to be encouraged to buy my games on the Microsoft Store rather than on Steam. Last week we talked about Steam's diminishing market share based on the numbers that we saw, and that would be a big hit against Valve as well, for AAA gaming in any case. And so what Microsoft has to do is use everything in their power so that every game that is released on the next Xbox is play anywhere. So you buy any of these games on your Xbox and they're playable on Windows. That will be huge. That is probably the single biggest thing, because there has been a movement towards Windows gaming. PC gaming in general is much larger now than it was 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 years ago. A big part of the reason why so many people moved over to the PC is that the launch of these new consoles was so disappointing. Both consoles were massively underpowered. And it was clear to people that for the same money as it would cost to basically buy a console, you can build a PC and have significantly better performance and games at lower cost. And so there was a migration away from consoles to PCs, and that probably came more from the Microsoft side than from the Sony side, for reasons that I'll explain in a minute. So play anywhere. Now, the risk of playing anywhere is that if you can play your game on your PC, why do you need an Xbox? If I've got an exclusive, if Halo, whatever comes out, and I can play it on my PC, do I really need an Xbox? And the answer is no. No, that's true. But Microsoft is all about being platform independent now. And from their perspective, why should they care if you are playing on your PC in Windows 10 or whatever they want to have it, if you bought your game from the Microsoft Store? They should be trying to build their entire ecosystem regardless of the hardware underneath it. And having it be available on both is a perfect way to do that. Now, what will happen is many PC gamers also have a console in the living room, and if all of their games that they bought on their PC through the Microsoft Store are also available on the console, which console do you think they're going to buy? And if Microsoft can be aggressive and match the sales that Steam offers, that would be a significant risk to Valve. So that would be the first thing. Xbox Play Anywhere for all games. And Xbox games should be playable. You should be able to cross-play with anybody else. The system should be open so that you can play Xbox versus PC, Xbox versus Steam, Xbox versus Mac versus Linux versus Switch versus PS4. Which won't happen because Sony refuses to allow it. And there's where the narrative can switch, is that you can be more consumer friendly. And Microsoft has been working very much on that, and I really hope they continue on with that approach and that we can see a more open console platform, which is the second part. I don't think this is going to happen, but I think it's a very big move. I think Microsoft should make DirectX, turn it into an open source platform. Open it up. Put it on GitHub. Make DirectX open source. DirectX will forever be associated with Microsoft, and Microsoft can continue to work on it. It just will be open source and anybody can use it. And by opening up DirectX to non-Microsoft owned platforms like Linux, like Apple, like Android, like iOS, you will have a more pervasive penetration of the gaming market. Right now, DirectX only works with two platforms, Windows 10 and the Xbox. Both of those platforms are declining in light of Android, iOS, and other platforms, including Linux. So why not open it up? Allow your platform to be an open platform. You can keep your Microsoft Store. I'm okay with that because you are going to have a Play Anywhere platform. And what risk is there to you if I'm using Linux instead of Windows and I'm buying my games from your store? Because they're compatible on my system. And the biggest threat to you in terms of becoming more and more irrelevant is probably a nascent one at this point, but it's called Vulkan. And Vulkan does exactly that. Vulkan is a cross-platform hardware open source graphics API that is getting more and more support, and that Valve is all behind because Valve knows the risks to it of Microsoft doing what I am recommending. And so they are supporting Vulkan because the more publishers and developers use Vulkan, the less important Windows and Microsoft and the Xbox become. And Vulkan is already gaining traction. And forget about Linux, which is a very small market, but on Android, which is a very, very large market. And that's going to happen, folks. Android is the world's biggest operating system. It is also the fastest growing. And how long will it be before we've got Android devices that we can basically run as gaming machines? And when that happens, it's all over. It's all over for Microsoft. Because if I can play my games on a Vulkan-based Android box for the same price as an Xbox One or an Xbox Next or whatever, and not only do I not need an Xbox, I don't even need Windows because my apps are on Android. So you got to be preemptive. Okay, you've got to do that. I think that's kind of part 2. Part 3 is, you got to get out there and be a little more competitive with your games. The 1, 2, 3 of losing the console war for Microsoft, and I don't think they had a chance because of the horrible, horrible, horrible launch, right? But that was followed by the 1, 2, 3 of failure, which was as follows. They lost Bungie. Bungie was acquired by Microsoft, made the Xbox a success through the release and of Halo and Halo 1, 2, 3, ODST, and all of the Halo games up until Halo 4. And they wanted to be cut loose, and so Microsoft cut them loose, and whatever deal that kind of came up with, and then Bungie developed Destiny. And somehow, Microsoft not only allowed Activision Blizzard to publish the game, which, presumably the reason behind that is Bungie wanted to go cross-platform, which I support. Interestingly, Destiny is only available on PC on Battle.net, so you can't get it on Steam and you can't get it on the Microsoft Store. So a bit of a loss there on the PC side. They lost the PC version of the game and they get nothing for it. But Sony smartly came in and became the lead platform. So Destiny was a PlayStation 4 first platform. They got the DLC first. All the promotion was focused around the PS4. And if you were a Destiny player, the best place to play Destiny was on PlayStation 4. And yes, Destiny had a troubled launch, but it became the first big multiplayer game on consoles. And while some holdouts from the 360 days, like myself, went over to the Xbox One, many didn't. And many decided to move over to the PlayStation 4 because of Destiny being the lead platform there. And that was a huge loss. The second big loss was Call of Duty, another Activision title. Call of Duty was always an Xbox first platform in prior generations. And Sony nabbed that one up too. So the top two online multiplayer shooter platforms of the generation, right at the very beginning of the generation, both became PlayStation 4 first. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was that. The Xbox 360 gamers that all played online on Microsoft's platform bolted and went over to play on the PlayStation 4 instead. That's where all their friends were. And that's where all the content was. And that was the best platform to play the two most important multiplayer games at the very beginning of the generation. The third nail in the coffin was a little game called Bloodborne. That's when I bought my PlayStation 4. You saw earlier on how many hours I've put into Souls games. Okay. And Bloodborne is a From Software game that was a PlayStation 4 exclusive. Microsoft paid the money to get a deal with From to create that game and put it on PlayStation 4 exclusively. There was no way I was not going to play that game. It's my favorite publisher. And so the two single most important multiplayer games now were Sony first. And then what is likely the top single player first, there is a multiplayer component, but the top single player game of the generation across all the platforms is a Sony exclusive. No, that's all she wrote. That's all she wrote. I mean, that's the capitulation. I bought a PlayStation 4 for that game. I barely used my PlayStation 3. And then basically Sony continued as they got the larger market share, as they got the online presence, it kind of built on itself, and that was all she wrote. That was all she wrote. That was the end of the generation wars at that point. When Bloodborne was released, Xbox was fried, if it was not fried earlier. So the third point is they've got to basically grab back some of this content for themselves. And that's gonna take some money. They're going to have to buy it up. And I'm not sure if it's possible anymore. That's kind of one of the keys. I'm pretty sure that Activision is going to basically take greater control of its platforms. If you take a look at Battle.net right now, Destiny is under the new Activision area. The Blizzard games are always PC first. And most of them actually play very, very well under Linux. Sometimes you need to do a little, a little finessing of the installer and so forth, but they work under Linux quite well. But it's going to be interesting to see the next Call of Duty game. I think that's going to be a Battle.net game. I think Call of Duty is also going to move away from Valve, I guess is what I'm saying. So Valve is kind of, up Craps Creek. I think. And I think Valve is a smart company, so they're going to respond. It's going to be very, very interesting. But Microsoft's going to have to develop better games. Halo 5 and 4 were both disappointing to me. I was probably one of the biggest Halo fans in the world. I read all of their books, for crying out loud. Okay? And both of those games were horribly disappointing. Gears of War 4, I played all of the other games, and I didn't finish Gears of War 4. Great production values and all of that stuff, but I don't know. It felt like I was playing the game. I was playing a game that had no reason to exist. New developer, same old stuff. Felt like they were just kind of trying to copy what had come before rather than creating something compelling that would be worthy of my very limited time. So those two franchises need to be reworked. Probably, I would say rebooted. I would finish off this the Halo second trilogy, up to Game 6, and then Halo 7 is going to be a reboot on the new console. Start over, scratch it, start over, rebuild it from the ground up. I think there's still life in Halo. Gears, I'm not so sure about. But what other games are there? I mean, they've got the Sea of Thieves. They got a couple of other new ones that are coming out. Hopefully they work out well. But Microsoft's got to improve its studio relations. It's got to make better games, basically, or at least spend the money to buy the rights to better games. Again, I'm not a big fan of going exclusive, but hey, if you pay some cash to basically make your console the lead console, you're going to get some benefit out of that. So we troll Microsoft and their employees quite generously here at Mostly Linux, but we do it out of love because we have terrific memories of using their platform. We'll be right back right after this. And we're back here on 0.07 of Mostly Gaming. That's a wrap for this week, folks. We are working, just a couple of things to touch up. We're working on our next giveaway. One that we were really hoping to put together, unfortunately, fell through at the last minute, largely because we decided not to support that particular publisher for reasons I won't really get into here. But we are working on a couple of other ones. There's some new games coming out that we are in touch with the developers and publishers with, and we will definitely have a new giveaway to announce next week. In the meantime, we're going to be jumping into Pillars of Eternity 2 and making some very good progress on that. Stay cool, stay chill, and see you next week on Mostly Linux, on Mostly Gaming.